Excellent. Thank you so much. So welcome everyone once again to all our listeners who have been following it up or not following it up. But this is We Are All One, and this is a series of Freedom of Free Spirited, a podcast series that we started a few weeks ago now. And we have done some topics that would resonate with you guys. But today, of all the topics, is something that is absolutely prime for every human on this journey. And what more than we have got a beautiful speaker that our beautiful host will introduce you to. But before jumping into that topic, I wanted to just ensure and make sure that this is a series which affects every human's well-being that we are born with. And we are also born with the topic that today we are going to be introducing to all you listeners. So I am absolutely thrilled and excited to have this because I have experienced this on my own journey. And as an awakening, this is a topic which is all about connections. But connections, are you born with it? Do you create? Do you thrive on it? Let's uncover everything, but it is a part of our emotional well-being. And this is something that we are going to jump in and dive in today. So without further delaying, I'm going to put this microphone to Dick, who is going to introduce to this lovely speaker on a topic that will absolutely make some sort of resonance and difference, because it is who we are, it is who we create, and it is what our being as a human on this journey that we call it. But this is a journey that of freedom of free spirit. So let's get into it. Vic, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, I'm so extremely excited to have Genevieve with us today. So Genevieve Searle is the optimization queen. She's a wellness mentor. She works with epigenetics, embodiment, and empowerment. Now, I've written down some notes because I really wanted to get this correct for Genevieve and just let you all know just how amazing and how much of an impact she has had on her own community and surrounding community. So she has 23 years of formal and informal learning, experimenting, embodying all of her practices over the years. She is a Bateko breathing instructor, PH 360 endorsed health coach. Now, she will correct me if I get any of these wording incorrect, but I'm going to do my best here. Thor laser practitioner. She's a flow state and ecstatic breathwork facilitator, ancestral nutrition mentor, and colon hydrotherapist. There is so much more that I could share with you about Jen, but before I let Jen go in, I just want to express my gratitude to have her on our podcast and to be able to explore some of her thinking and how she's come about to put her packages in, working with her clients to get them to where they are today. So I'm extremely grateful to have Jen with us today to explore connections. So that's our topic for the podcast today. And she's going to dive deep. We're going to go on a little journey today through the steps and through why connection is so important to us and as an individual and as a collective. So welcome, Jen. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Yeah. Just call me G.
Perfect.
I'm a thing with Jen. It's all good. Yeah, and I guess I just want to add a couple of things that I feel. I'm also a published TEDx speaker, and I published my TEDx right at the end of last year called How to Thrive in an Era of Uncertainty, which I think is pretty key for the moment. It's pretty topical.
Yeah.
And the other piece in that feels really important for me is I'm also a transformation catalyst and mentor. So I walk with people through, I combine intellect and intuition, science and embodiment and empowerment, and the body and the mind and the heart and the spirit. Is very much an integrative. What I offer is very integrative, and it is a process of transformation. Pretty much, I can guarantee that if you spend any time with me, you won't be the same person on the other side. It's just not going to be the case. So just, fair warning,
Taking it. That's what I'm here for. I'm here for transformation. So I think I'm in the right place.
Perfect. Yeah, me too. And it's a constant process. It's like constantly leaning into evolution and growth and connecting to our possibility and our potential, and through that, connecting to all of these different aspects of ourselves in order to become the fullest and the fullness of who we are, which I feel like is, the ultimate human experience. Like, how can we be the most ourselves? How can we actually connect with the truth of who we are and step into that? So yeah, that's what I'm about.
I'm excited to hear more. I'm sure you're going to share with us along throughout our conversation today, just more deeply with what you're all about. That's for sure.
Awesome.
So just to start, I just really want to kick off this topic today, just with how important connections are really for our well-being.
Everything is connection. Everything. It's not just because it's about everything in the world, everything in our lives is about relationships and how we are connected to all of the different pieces. So connected, yes, to ourselves, connected to our family, connected to our community, connected to the wider world, connected to our hearts, connected to our bodies, connected to our truth, connected to the earth that we walk on. Everything is relationship. And when we are disconnected from any of that, there is a flow on effect, there is a ripple effect that flows out that means that everything around us, everything is affected. So connection's kind of the ultimate, really. Yeah.
So I know you've got you've got a program starting in the next couple of days, Thriving in the Uncertainty, the 3 keys, I should say, sorry. Can you explain that a little bit for me? And I know you want to touch on this because I'm really excited to hear more about this and just how you're connecting it with connection.
Absolutely. Well, one of the keys is connect. So with my TEDx, I did, the TEDx talk was called How to Thrive in an Era of Uncertainty. And in that, I brought up 3 keys. Breathe to find your center, move through your emotions, and connect to support and inspire. And then there's actually a 4th key. So I sort of got those keys and then I went, hang on, there's like a 4th piece. And this is the key that we get to once we've created a foundation with the other 3 keys. And that key is connecting in with your passion and your purpose. So all of these keys are actually about connecting. When we breathe to find our center, it's about connecting to our body, connecting to our breath so we can come out of our looping mind and our anxiety and our fear and drop back into our center and our stability and our foundation, our core truth that knows really everything's going to be okay. And then from that place, once we've sort of come out of that anxiety space, and we can go into our body, and then we go into like our emotions. So what are the pieces, what are the emotions, what are the feelings there that we might feel stuck with that we need to move through? Now, our culture does not like moving through emotions. Our culture loves to suppress emotions, ignore emotions, deny emotions, self-medicate or pharmaceutically medicate emotions. It will do everything it can to avoid actually going through to emotion. But we are feeling beings, and emotions are feelings that we give language and meaning to. So when we when we don't have the pieces for how to move through our emotion, to how to actually feel what it is that we're feeling with curiosity and love, and allow that to move through us, it gets stuck in our system, and it interferes with how we can connect with every other part of ourselves. So we need strategies for not only moving through our emotions in our mind, but we need strategies for actually moving them through our body. And there's a big piece around the subconscious mind and the relationship between the subconscious mind and the body and how emotion can be stored in the body. It's really quite big, but we can actually fast track that process by being willing to dive in to the feeling and hold ourselves with love and compassion and patience, and actually use movement as a pathway to transform ourselves through that process. Very powerful stuff that's coming up now, becoming more popular and more awareness now. And then the next piece is connect. So one of the things that we find is that, what's that saying? It's like, you become, or you are the 5 people that you are surrounded most closely by. So when we're surrounded by people, when we're connected with people that we end up kind of looping a negative story with, or we end up going into this, we get stuck in a role, we get stuck in a place because our connections aren't necessarily supporting us to grow and evolve and become more of who we are, then we're not going to go anywhere and life is going to continue to be hard. But when we can surround ourselves with people and environments that feel, sorry, I'm just going to turn my phone off. Go away. Anyway, we'll just put it down there. When we can surround ourselves with people that actually not only support us, but actually will hold us to our highest potential because they see us for the potential that we carry. So this is really important, because there's one thing, it's like we can support people, but actually keep them in a place of victimhood. So we need to be willing to support, to see the people we love and go, and I'm going to hold you to a higher standard than where you're at the moment, which then we rise to. And that's uncomfortable. But that's where magic happens. And when our world is, and I said this in the TEDx, when our world is full of challenges, we need to be able to think creatively. We need to be able to innovate. We need to be able to come up with alternative solutions that we may never have considered beforehand, because the world is changing. It's changing on the daily, and we don't know what's coming. Now, life has always been uncertain, but I'll tell you what, now it's in our faces and we cannot deny the uncertainty. And so we have to surround ourselves with people that will go, hey, I see your potential. I see your possibility. I see the greatness in you, and I'm not going to allow you to stay stuck in here. And that's when the innovation can happen, because innovation and creative thinking happens at this place where challenge and inspiration meet. So when we're surrounded by challenge, we need people around us that inspire us. And we also need to be the ones that do the inspiring. So that's like that connection piece is vital. And then we get to, once we've kind of got to that, then we have the spaciousness to be able to tap into what matters beyond anything. This is our why. This is our reason for being. This is the thing that gets us up out of the pit of despair. It's the thing that lights us up with pure fire and possibility, imagination. It's what drives creation and evolution and wonder. And it's what we can cling to. It's what we can always come back to when everything's hard, when everything's closing in on us. If we can find our why and we can come back to our why, then that why is always going to be, and we are really connected to our why, then that why is always going to be bigger than our obstacles, and we will find a way. And that's when a lot of our problems just kind of start to dissolve, because they're just actually no match for that, for being that connected to our purpose. It's like you can't help, but life cannot help but unfold before you when you are that connected to your why. So that is a program. We do a week on each of this, each key. It's very much a transition from mind to the body, to the heart, to the spirit. Each week kind of goes into morphs into this new space and becomes this whole program. And through it, so the first week is quite information dense. Look at the books behind me. I'm a bit of a nerd. Yeah. And then we go more into embodiment pieces and what have you. And over the time, it's not just me, it's 8 guest presenters. We've got somatic embodiment, like just helping people actually get in touch with their bodies, because so many people are actually frightened of their bodies and frightened of feeling. And so we're just testing the waters of how would it be to feel? How would it be to just trust our body? So that's sort of the first piece. And then we go into, then we go more into the whole week of connection. So I've got 4 different amazing guest speakers, and we're talking about all sorts of different kinds of connections to the earth, connections to our inner archetypes, connections to our sexuality, connections to all sorts of things. And connections to other communities, how we can connect into other communities. And then the final week is passion and purpose. And we finish with an ecstatic dance party. So the whole thing, like we've got 2 or 3 amazing guest presenters in the final week. And then we've got an ecstatic dance party, breathing. And the whole thing is designed to take you on a journey of, yes, okay, we have all the tools we need to come back to our center. Then we open up into like moving through our blocks. Then we go into like connecting and widening our spread of possibility. And then we go deep into our hearts, like what is in there that wants to come out. So
and for our listeners, that sounds amazing. I'm so excited myself. For our listeners, can we do you have any like tips or steps, that because I know that some of our listeners are only just, starting out on this journey as to, how they can keep their well-being in check, and how they, just little tools that they can refer back to. Can you give us a few steps as to how you might be advising your clients and the people that you work with, just little steps to reconnect with themselves and maybe reconnect with their immediate circle?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing I'd say is this program's totally designed for people who are just starting out. This is like primo for that. It's like, all these resources. The second thing is just for right here and now, if we're first creating space. So our mind can be one of the most brilliant things, and it also can be an absolute trap. And when we are in a space where our mind is looping, and it's very difficult to be able to see or hear or even know the truth of what's happening, not only within the people around us, and we will start to project and create stories, but we can't see ourselves clearly. So spaciousness, being able to, breathing to come back to your center. So here's tip 1, breathe light, slow and deep, and always through your nose, in and out through your nose. So it's N, nose, L, S, D. And that process, so it's not, so when I talk about a deep breath, it's not a big breath. We actually want to slow our breathing down and breathe less. And a really simple trick to do that is just like single nostril breathing. So it's been around for a long time. You just block one of your nostrils and you count 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out, something very simple. And there's lots of like in the program, I've got lots of different strategies, but that is a good simple one that you can just drop into. But the principles are nose, always through your nose, in and out through your nose, always slow, light, slow and deep. So that's the key one. The other one is connect with nature. Get outside, take your shoes off, walk in the park, get some sunshine on your skin, slow it down so that you're not rushing. It's not like I'm going for a walk now. It's I'm going to actually feel the sun on my skin. I'm going to feel the grass beneath my feet. These really, really simple things bring us back into the moment, and we can then feel the gratitude of things like the sun feels really nice. The grass feels really nice. Oh, I can feel the earth underneath the grass. There's something in that downregulates our nervous system. It brings a sense of calm into the nervous system and creates spaciousness in our minds, particularly when we then bring in gratitude. Wow, that sun feels really good. I'm really enjoying it. And just take that moment to create space. Once we have created space, we can then and our nervous system is starting to downregulate a little bit. We can come out of that fight and flight freeze place. We can start to step back, and we can actually start to see things more clearly. So if there has been some kind of disruption with our communities, like with our family or our friends and, you know, our close connections, it's really important to be able to regulate your nervous system before diving into any kind of uncomfortable conversation. We need to be clear so that we can reach the people that we want to reach with our hearts. Otherwise, we just create more drama, more stories, and it's like an ongoing loop. So that would be the next piece, is those questions around, first of all, what is going on here for me? What am I making this mean? Like if there's some discord in relationship, what am I making this mean? What am I frightened of? Because I speak to one of the mentors that I speak to in the program is he does rapport-based relating, really brilliant man. And his story with grief, he lost his daughter when she was only 3, and his journey with that has been huge. And what I was speaking to him around this, but it also come to it myself, that at the center of disconnection, we often think it's fear. So there's this conversation that says, you know, we choose between, we're either coming from a place of love or we're coming from a place of fear. Well, I would say, and he would agree, and there's a whole mentoring process around this as well, that actually fear is protecting grief. So at the center of disconnection, I would say it's actually grief, not fear. And that fear is the armor that we then layer on over the top of fear. We're frightened of feeling the pain of disconnection, of loss, basically disconnection and loss. So if we can just tap into that place of like, is this grief? Or what am I frightened of here? What am I frightened of losing? What's hurting at the moment that I'm trying to protect or trying to keep myself from feeling? And these are brave questions. They're very brave.
I'm resonating with a lot that you're saying, and it's like there's a little memory bank going on here.
But I believe my experience for myself and my experience with clients is that we are unbelievably powerful. We have unbelievable resilience and unbelievable capacity. What we need to do is just exercise that so that we build a reference bank of proof. So doing like taking little steps. And this is one of the other places where movement comes in. Because when we exercise, when we push ourselves a little bit with exercise, we can create metaphors. So I started with CrossFit, and it was hard, but every time I did a really hard workout or I really slogged it out, I then was able to reflect back and go, hey, I did that really hard thing. I pushed through, or, I just kept going when I really wanted to stop. I have the capacity to do that. And so giving ourselves opportunities where maybe it's not directly related to the same experience. So it might not be, I know I'm really good at connecting, or I know I'm really good at relationships because I have this proof of in this area, but maybe it's more, I know I can be brave to go into this uncomfortable situation because I've done it here, you know.
Yeah.
So I've done hard stuff. Maybe it's not in this realm, but I've done hard stuff before. I survived it, and I'm actually stronger for it. So drawing from those other pieces in different parts of our lives as these reference points of like, oh yeah, actually I've got that. I've actually got this.
Yeah.
And maybe I can.
And I think that's
brave enough to try this other little thing.
Yeah, that's a very important thing to mention, because I think we do forget, you know, just across the board how strong and powerful and actually willing you are to, you know, push yourself in areas that you want to. You know, I think we can all do whatever we want if we truly deep down, you know, have that drive to get it. Like, you know, yeah, like you said, get through that exercise class, get up that mountain, you know, like, so we can all get through that, you know, uncomfortable conversation because you've done something brave in the past in a different area. So yeah, I think that's definitely an important key to make note of here.
Yeah, there's a beautiful quote by a woman called Melanie Ann Leah, and she says that confidence is courage compounded. So it's like we build this place of like walking through the world with confidence because we have practice, because we have stepped in, we have been courageous in the face of fear, stepped forwards again and again and again in little ways and in big ways. And ultimately then we go, yeah, I'm okay. I'm going to be okay here.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I want to jump in here, Genevieve. You talked about a lot about activities, but I want to go back to the basic thing of connections, where I would like to understand from you that connections, as I said in my start opening, that connection is a part of us and we create those connections. Now, to take that step, everybody has got their own way of connecting, and we can't say this is right or this is wrong or this is good and this is bad. It's all about how they relate, how they connect. And ultimately, it's their well-being, which is affecting if they connect just the way they want. But if they follow someone else and try to connect the way others are connecting, or like others are telling them, or mentors or things like that, which I feel I wanted to ask you from your own experiences. I know you are a nerdy, you read books and all sorts of things. However, in your personal experience, like, what would be your message to those people who are listening, who don't know how to connect, but they are connecting in their own way currently? But what is more important is connections. Like, they have to keep creating those connections before they approach other humans or the environment or the nature, wherever they go. How do they get up? Just like, you know, motivation. You got to have that motivation to get up from your bed. So the connection is there that, okay, I want to connect because I connect with this. So I wanted to now get up and do this. What's your message to this basic fundamental steps of connection? So is it something that connection physically, mentally, and spiritually? What sort of connections really wakes you or makes you to connect right from the moment get-go? Something deep I wanted to ask you, in your own experience, how you have been connected that way.
Yeah, I believe that as humans are herd animals. Like we're animals. And this is an interesting point, actually. So we humans have spent most of sort of since the dawn of humanity, trying to differentiate ourselves from animals, to make ourselves special and different from animals. And now over time, we've become so clever at doing that, that we've actually created these machines and technology that, you know, so it's like one of the ways that we disconnected or detached ourselves from being animals and separated ourselves from being just animals was through intellect and our ability to reason and our ability to, you know, think logically and critically and all of those things. We have become so good at that we've now created this technology that is actually far better than us at thinking critically and problem solving. Maybe not quite, you know, we've got AI and we've got those things that now, you know, you play computer chess and the computer's probably going to win most of the time, right? So we have outsmarted ourselves. And now the difference between us and AI is actually the connection to our heart. So that's actually it is our capacity to connect through our heart that differentiates us from just being machines. It is a core need to belong and to be part of community and to feel connected. We're designed to be part of a group, and this is why we're designed to be connected. And this is one of the reasons why it is very difficult to have uncomfortable conversations and have very truthful conversations, because at a core level, we really fear there is a deeply encoded message in us that says, if I disrupt this relationship, I may be kicked out of the group, and that feels like a death. I'm literally risking my survival. And so we now, in our very modern and very disconnected world, our ability to connect at a heart level has been eroded, because we're, you know, so distracted and there's so many inputs and what have you. And so we don't necessarily have the skills to be able to connect properly and in a really heart-centered way, and yet it's probably more vital now than ever. So learning how, and I do believe now we actually need to relearn the art of connection. But ultimately, being able to connect well means being able to firstly connect to ourselves and to our own heart and our own needs, and being able to be self-responsible for our feelings and our emotions, and then to be able to communicate with other people with knowing that we have our own back, knowing that we're strong, because that allows us to then be open-hearted. So we can stay open in our heart and in our communication when we are connecting with other people, because we know that we have the confidence to know that we're going to be okay. And that then creates richness in our communications. And that's where we have these beautiful connections. Beautiful connections come from being courageous and being willing to also be uncomfortable.
Yes, I have realized, I agree with you that self-awareness or self-connection is the first important, because we humans are the most ultimate technology in ourselves. And that's why we could create technology. Mm-hmm. Technology has not created us, we have created technology. Mm-hmm. And as a human, we are the most intelligent and intellect technology, way more than AI or anything what we say, because that's all we have created, AI and all that. It's not they have created us. So to me, connections to ourselves, because there are so many layers, as we say in a computer or in a digital world that we are living, it's all connected, and we are connected on a level where it is unseen. And just like our human body is unseen, it's a technology that we have created. And the connections that we have inside us are so many layers. It is a matter of time of every human, I think, to just realize that how powerful we are to connect on different levels. and we haven't even optimized our usage of our technology.
Totally.
And this is one of the key to me is the connection topic that I wanted to brought up. This is like how powerful it is, as you said before, how powerful we are, that how we can do any damn thing on this planet or anything. But connections and then connecting, realizing our connections first, and then connecting through our layers inside us to different levels is the key to for our well-being as well, and to keep our software and hardware completely intact, our own software and hardware. That's what I see it. But this is my view that for this in the uncertainty time, and your program that you are doing is all about connections, the 3 steps that you have been talking about. I think first and foremost important is, different levels people can connect, human can connect, and they should not be ashamed or feeling low or anything of that sort when they connect, because it's a spark that connects us. It's like a switch on and switch off of a light that we connect. So I think that's very important for us and for all our listeners. I think what we are talking about here is all about connecting in an uncertain times, but uncertain times are always there. Challenges are always going to be there. They're not going to go away. But you have to realize your own technology that is there to solve or to unsolve or to create and co-create all these connections that beautifully you can do. And there are connections, and you're right, like sometimes we think that our own family members, our own people that we think are connected or not connected, and how do we connect them? So it's always a battle to challenge of connecting. And sometimes you do realize that we connect, sometimes we don't connect, but still we keep going with that connections. And I think that's very important, to keep going with the connections rather than getting stuck and saying that I can't connect, basically. So yeah, no, I take that very much valid point of like first and foremost, connect with yourself, then anything else. And then you will find your own connection levels of where to connect, who to connect, and how to connect.
Yeah.
Does that resonate with you, Big?
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel that when we start to be in the world differently, then we just automatically start to connect with different people. And it really does start with us. It's like if I want more and deeper and better connections, then I need to be willing to offer more and deeper and better connections.
Yeah.
And I feel like we need to really touch on the disconnection piece that a lot of people, most of the planet really has been forced into in the last 2 years. The isolation, the separation, being stuck in our homes, being forced to then get creative about how we connect. And yet the humans need physical proximity. Like we need to be near each other. We need to be, Zoom is amazing. And so grateful to have this technology being created prior to COVID, because it has allowed for some connection to continue. But I believe that one of the greatest travesties and tragedies of this time has been the lack of physical connection, or being able to hug your friends. I think that tears us apart at a very, very core human level. I think that the grief that is probably sitting there, and for a lot of people, I don't think they necessarily even know that how devastating that is for the human heart and the human spirit. I think we need, and I might be a little bit controversial here, but I think the health of humanity is to some degree dependent on our ability to connect deeply and properly with each other, not only via Zoom, but also in person.
Yeah.
And I know that there's going to be lots of people like, oh, but it's a pandemic and what have you. But I think I actually believe that the trauma, we are living in a traumatized, we have already been living in a traumatized world.
I was about to say that.
It has already been traumatized. We are living through generations and generations of colonization and war and so much, like depressions and all of these things. We're already traumatized, and then now we've gone through this virtually global trauma, and we're so used to being traumatized, we don't even necessarily understand that we're being even more deeply traumatized. But the grief that will be sitting in the hearts of virtually everyone on the planet that is probably not being addressed, I think is possibly one of the things that will make people even sicker.
Yeah.
If we really want to heal, we need to heal our hearts massively.
And I think most of us, there's so many people that don't even actually realize, like it's going to be for years, I think, until it's realized the depth and how much impact, isolation and the lack of connection, physical connection has actually had, so as much as we can talk about it now and, air it, I think, even the ones that are speaking of it, we won't actually fully, know that the depth of how we're being impacted by it, until years to come, I think.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
And yet, I've had a couple of experiences where, because I live in Queensland, and so where I live, we haven't had too many issues with lockdowns. I've been very fortunate, but I've had friends who have been in Victoria where they were locked down for 8 months last year.
Yeah.
8 months. And then, another friend she was in Newcastle, so she was locked down for 3 months. So when my friend from Newcastle came up, she once she was in like an area where there were a lot of people, she was almost in shock. Like we actually had to sit with her and just be with her and help her process. And the amount of grief that ended up coming up for her was huge, and it's layers. It just kind of keeps repeating. So, and these are just, and the woman I met who, had come up, basically the borders lifted in Victoria, and she got in the car, put her kids in the car and just drove north.
Yeah.
To nothing. She didn't have anyone up here, but she's like, I have to get out of there. And I actually met her at an event where I was in the support crew, and meeting her and just sitting with her and being able to just validate her and say, yes, you have been in a really traumatic experience. This is going to take some time. Be kind to yourself. This is really, really hurting your heart and your spirit. Give yourself the space to breathe and to grieve and to feel all of the feelings.
And I think that's also a really important and valid note to make as well, the time, with connection. Connection doesn't come overnight. Connection isn't instant, especially, we think, and I say that, like when we have connections with people, with ourselves, I think you definitely need to take that time and give yourself space to unpack and to shift the layers and to be kind, because there are going to be layers that are, thick and dark and, and I think just being, human beings, we're always in such a rush. Everything, it's like, I want to connect now. I want to do this now. It's like, we really need to slow down, and the more we slow down and be kind and gentle and allow whatever comes up in each connection, with ourselves, with our family members, with our animals, with, strangers. I think, the slower we are and the more present we are in those connections, I think, it just automatically allows that connection to be deeper and to be more aligned.
Absolutely. And I would say as well, like there's making that a little bit tangible as well.
Yeah.
We can facilitate that process. We can really help that process of connection by doing very simple exercises. One of the most profound, uncomfortable, beautiful, heart-opening exercises you can possibly do with someone is to simply sit face to face, completely undefensively, without saying a single word, and look at each other in the eye in full presence for at least a minute. Try doing that for 3 minutes. The amount of stuff that can just be shared when we can open our hearts to see the heart of another person can shift dramatically if we're willing to do it. But yeah, that first little bit where we have to go, you'll feel it. You feel these like layers drop away. And I remember one of the first times I was doing it, I just sat in front of this woman. I didn't really know her very well. I knew her a little bit, not very well. And we just looked at each other in the eye, and gradually I could see the defensiveness coming off her. I could feel the defensiveness coming off me, and we were just staring at each other with tears streaming down our faces, and then just had the most beautiful hug at the end, because we just saw each other heart to heart, like soul to soul. Everything else just melted away, and we saw that in each other. And so connections do take time, and we are so distracted, and so much demands our attention, and we keep ourselves distracted, unconsciously distracted. And yet we can drop into incredibly deep connections very quickly if we choose to be very present. But yeah, it requires courage, because we are going to be seen. We're going to be seen in our humanness. But the beautiful thing about that kind of situation, and that is a practice I would highly recommend people go and like just try that out. Be willing to sit down with your kids, with your, anyone, your partner, your friends, and just look each other in the eye with the willingness to be seen and to truly see them. That's a game changer. So simple.
Very simple. I agree 100% on that. And that's, you can experience that one, except for me, I experience that when I listen to music. You don't have anyone in front of you, but you just listen, the sounds, and you connect. And then if you don't connect, then you change your tune or change the other music. And this is where we start finding our connections. And when we connect, we just keep listening, basically. And so that's beautifully what I also do, is simple things. These are very simple things. So you don't need everything and anything around you. It's just a connection that you have to utilize your tools that you have been given on in yourself. So I 100% agree with that. And I do understand the theory of connecting by sitting just and staring just, or even loving people who you love. Even like when you watch a photo frame, you bring all the memories. When you bring the memories, then you get all those connections again coming back to you, and that's one of the beautiful aspect of our human intelligence. Once again, it's a part and parcel of us. So I totally understand and get that. So for me, music has been since my childhood a good connection. So even if I don't have anyone around me, I just put the music, I just play the music that I like, and even that person doesn't know me and I don't know him, it doesn't matter, his voice connects with me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually one of the strategies that I use in the second week. We talk about using music to shift emotional states, and because there's quite a bit of study done, as well as personal experience of, we can, you put on a song that makes you feel good, and suddenly your mood changes. Like, it does actually do some rewiring of your mind, and you can deliberately choose to take yourself on a journey with music. Sometimes you don't, sometimes you're in a space and like, I don't want to listen to the music I want to listen to the music that I feel now. But then you can get intentional about it and go, okay, well, what if I give space for what I'm feeling now? I listen to like something that's hard and edgy and what have you. And then but I deliberately choose to then move beyond it. And then we're going to change the music to then and go on a bit of a journey with it. That's another really simple, very simple, but very powerful practice. Because you're right, it's like that's working, it's actually working below the conscious level. It's working at a deep core level that we understand at a very fundamental level, like we understand, it's not a logical thing necessarily. It's just something that we innately understand.
Yeah, for me, connecting has been like understanding your own self, which is like, so we have been given everything that we want to connect, whether we connect through our eyes, whether we connect through our ears, whether we connect through our, intelligent memories, whatever it is embedded inside us, or physically, whether we connect. It is absolutely a divine form of connections that has been given to us. And it's just a matter of how you utilize and when do you utilize, and you keep utilizing is the key thing. If you don't utilize, then you will feel stuck. That's what I feel. And then you will feel disconnected.
Yeah.
We are 99.9%, we are always disconnected, but we are been given the power to connect. And that's where we remove the disconnection when we create connections through any channel of our tools that has been given. That's my humble kind of simple way of doing things.
Yeah, absolutely. And even simple things like, again, if you're not, maybe music's not your thing, but going and putting your feet on the earth, or if you've got an animal in the house, putting your hand on the animal, but but actually with presence. I think that's the key thing. It's the choice, it's the intention.
I think I know for the fact that Beck has got connection with animals, Beck has got connection with nature. And so everybody has one. So she can throw some light on that connection. But, interestingly is why do we connect for emotional well-being? And if we don't connect, why we need to connect with others, whether it is for inspiration, whether it is for support, whether it is for motivation, we need to connect. Connecting ourselves is great, but connecting with others gives you that extra well-being factor, in my view.
It's hardwired. That's programmed into us. That is a core survival need. And then, our magic now in this time is that we get to go beyond survival, beyond surviving and into thriving. How can we go beyond just having a place in our tribe to actually being a valued, contributing member of a thriving community?
Definitely. Yes. I think there's a lot more we could go deeper in that, being connected and a part of the community. But I think for sure, like with our personal emotional well-being, just for the topic we're talking about today, I think it's pivotal that we, find connections in little things. And, for me, like I haven't always been a good speaker. I haven't always been able to express myself openly or comfortably. And it has taken a long time to be connected with myself and to assess where I'm at in different times. My dogs are my core connection piece, and they connect me to a lot more than I can, put words to at times. But I think for, individually, I think it's just about finding those key things that we're able to connect with, or, and if connection's not the right word for you, I think it's just to resonate maybe, or to, to have some form of bond with, because I know sometimes connection is like, it's a hard word if you have no connection with yourself, or if you're feeling, not attached and, sort of lost in the world, it is very hard to find connection and to find what you need to start. So I think, it's just about finding the little things that bring you joy, or find, a little bit that thing that will, keep you going, and, that next step, and find the next excitement and what fills your cup, and the sun on your skin, and the water, waterfalls, and all those little things that, you can then, once you have experienced that, you're able to look at it and go, oh, what did I enjoy about that? Why did that help me so much? And then, over time, slowly you can put that word in place. It's like, oh, it's a connection to water. It's a connection to animals. It's a connection with the wind and the sun. And then, you'll start to understand the connection that you have within yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, absolutely. Beck, very well said that. So I think for me to make my statement in end is like what I hear from Beck and Genevieve, was a beautiful speaker today, but also a connection coach and doing a lot of good work to a lot of humans, is connections doesn't have to be physically, mentally, or emotionally, but connections has got different kind of forms. Like as Beck said, she has got a connection with animals, but she can't express it in words, and it can't be, but there is a connection deeper level. Then we have a connection with music. We don't know who is singing or what is singing, but it gets connected to us. And then there are connections where Genevieve mentioned that you stare at humans, you stare at your kids, or you talk to physically and sit down calmly, coolly, and you can still get connected easily. And that's the simple things that we have humans been given. So to summarize this, I feel that people who are listening to us, connections you don't have to find. It's not somewhere you can find in market or buy with someone. It's a connection that you can actually do it yourself without any cost to anything. You can just get connected and it becomes the most rich and the most wealthy emotional well-being factor of your journey. That's what I would put it that way. And so with that, I wanted to just final message, put it to our speaker. What's your final message to the audiences that are listening to us, and after listening to this beautiful journey of expressing and realizing our connections? So connections is the key for anything and everything, but it also comes with us. And we need to co-create and create this connection. So what's your final message to the audiences, that how do they do all these beautiful, simple, connecting things?
I feel like the first piece is there's a self-compassion piece. So understanding that while we may have this desire for connection, we haven't been schooled, we haven't been mentored very well in how to connect. And so giving ourselves first compassion and saying, hey, I don't actually really know how to do this properly, but I'm willing to learn, and I'm going to intentionally seek out ways that I can do it better. And then probably the next piece is getting curious. So replacing judgment with curiosity, replacing judgment towards ourselves with, instead of like, oh, that was so stupid, I shouldn't have done that, or I shouldn't have said that, I shouldn't have that. It's like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, where did that come from? Oh, and it's just starting asking ourselves from a place of curiosity, and just approaching ourselves and our own thoughts and our own behaviors as curious, rather than right or wrong or good or bad or what have you. And that creates spaciousness and lightness. And then it's the intention. So it's sort of, these are kind of all background pieces to being then able to connect better. The intention there is, well, how do I want to connect? What kind of connections matter to me? And if the connection is, well, I want to, if the intention is to deeply connect with our hearts, to actually have connections that fill us up and leave us inspired and leave us feeling like, well, that create this joy and possibility and potential and love. These are the connections I think that we all truly desire, that the ones that, you know, really fill us up. It's like, how, if that's my intention, if that's what I want, then who do I need to be in order to be able to help to create that in my life? Rather than seeking outward to, I want this from the people around me, because the truth is not everyone's going to be able to connect with you like that. But if that's what you truly desire, then we have to go inward first and go, okay, this is what I desire. Who do I need to be to meet that and to bring that into my life? And then having compassion for the people that we may really want to connect with very deeply at a level, who will never be able to do it, because it's just, sometimes people just can't, for whatever reason. And having compassion for them and their journey and their space, and going, okay, I'm not going to find the kind of connection that I really want to find with you. We can have another connection. I can keep that connection going. But if I really want to fill up and have a really deep, rich connection, I might need to let go of the hope that it's going to happen with this person and open myself up to the possibility of connecting more deeply and richly with other people or in other spaces. Yeah. So I think there's some pretty core foundational pieces. And then I find that when we kind of look after those core, that's like tending the soil and planting the seeds. And then once we do that, things will naturally start to grow. But we also keep needing to, you know, we'll need to weed the garden, and we'll need to, you know, we need to tend it. Yeah.
No, that's great. I don't think I could have put it better myself. That's wonderful. I think there's you know, as we've touched, you know, connections aren't just a simple, you know, reach out, have a conversation. It's definitely, you know, the deeper connections and deeper levels within ourselves and, you know, and the people around us. I think for me, one of the key things that I have been reminded today is that, you know, we do become the person that we're hanging around, you know, so our, you know, the 5 closest people that we see, that we connect with, that we, you know, constantly, you know, in contact with. I think we definitely absorb their energies and we become those people. So if you are wanting to find deeper connections, I think, you know, we do need to be mindful of who we are spending our time with and connecting with, to be able to develop and deepen those connections. So there's a nice reminder for me today. But yeah, thank you so much, G. I really appreciate it. I'm so
we
sorry.
can call you G now. We don't have to say Genevieve.
Yeah, it's my gangster name.
The gangster name. Love that. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you to our listeners. And again, all of G's contacts and her links will be below our podcast today. So if you are wanting to follow her journey and get in contact and reach out, they'll all be there for you to do so. She does have her program starting this Friday. So if you do want any more information, I would recommend to reach out as soon as you've got the links.
Yeah, jump on it. If anything in this had like hit that part when sparked something in you, jump on it. Like, this is the time. We are living in a time now where we need to make sure that we are appropriately tooled up. We've got tools in our toolbox to be able to navigate life successfully, and this program absolutely nails that. So jump in.
I think it's also getting the instructions on how to use those tools. You know, like I have so many tools, but there's some tools that I really don't know how to quite use and when to use them. So, you know, I think it definitely comes down to getting the understanding of how to actually apply the tools that we have and, you know, and the reminders that we can do it. So,
totally. And I'm aiming to have it so it's running mostly through a Facebook group, so it will be quite interactive. So there's definitely opportunities for people to go, exactly what you said, like how do I apply this, and if it's not landing, it's like, what do I do with this? Or 100%.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think very well said, both of you, beautifully. So my final message to all the audience is, this is the Freedom of Free Spirited podcast series. we are all one. And as G said, we are in an uncertain time, and we need more and more connections around this time. But most importantly is, don't make sure that you know yourself that you have all those tools. And as Big said, it's only how you want to use it, and how to use it is the key that you have to ask that question. So freedom of speech spirited is a journey of all humans. And I wanted to just take this message final to everyone, that you have got what it takes, and but you just have to let yourself be free from all the surroundings and the systems that you are got stuck in it, and understand your own potential, that you are a beautiful, one of the most amazing technology that is actually surviving. And to put it finally, survival is already been created for you. It's the thriving that G says. Survival is there. You have to go beyond that survival. And that's how you connect and you go beyond that. So thank you so much once again, G. This is my final message. You can close off, Big.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you so much.